Story levels. They're something that has existed in Geometry Dash for as long as anyone can remember, dating back to Update 2.0 with the introduction of cube stories. Over time, people would eventually figure out how to make competently crafted narratives without using the text object in the editor, and these story levels have become some of the all-time best and most beloved levels in the entire game. However, another genre of level is a horror level. This is a subset of a story level, and their only goal is to instill fear in the player. Now, this doesn't work all the time, but sometimes it can be done extremely, extremely well. While horror as a genre was most popular in 1.9 and 2.0, it saw a rather unfortunate resurgence in about 2019 to 2020. I use the word unfortunate specifically because I really, really dislike how most of these levels work. But I'm not going to dwell on those levels, or at least not for too much longer. For now, let's take a look at a level that manages to combine the story and horror genres so perfectly that the result is one of only 2 levels in the entire game to get at least 100 out of 100 across the board. The Sun Vanished. If you've known me for a while, you know that I really don't like anything that can be classified as horror. I've always had a violent distaste for any piece of media that falls into that genre, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just something that I'm not comfortable with. But evidently, people do like it, and it should come as no surprise whatsoever that horror found its way into Geometry Dash. While the restrictions of 1.9 and 2.0 to a lesser extent forced people to get very creative, the drastically expanded editor that was brought along with the release of 2.1 left the door open for people to literally just do whatever they want. Unfortunately, the creative and even somewhat clever horror levels of that era have long been overshadowed by creators like Devin 2003, and nowadays, horror typically just refers to any level with a hint of shock value. To make these levels, creators will fill their level with disturbing, violent, and sometimes even legally screwed imagery, and it's a trend that I cannot stand for a second. The apex of this whole trend is a level by the name of Red Rooms, created by Devin himself. I'm not able to show the full level, for reasons that'll be obvious to anyone who so much as glanced at it, but for those of you who haven't seen it, imagine someone ate a massive amount of Taco Bell and then exploded on their toilet. That's Red Rooms for you. And I won't even speak about the sequel, Man, but the fact that the level could not be uploaded to the servers says a lot. Don't get me wrong, it isn't just modern levels that do this. There were some levels in 1.9 and 2.0 that definitely went over the line, and some that I genuinely have no idea what RobTop was thinking when he rated them. I still hate levels like Red Rooms and Man, don't get me wrong, but at least there's practically no incentive to go for them unless you really want to torture yourself. There's a reason Red Rooms made it feel necessary to add another accolade under absolute garbage. But rated levels have actual statistical rewards, so you're really encouraged to give them a try, and that's where I think RobTop's defense falls flat a little bit. However, psychological horror levels don't have to be, for lack of a better term, horrors beyond our comprehension. It's possible to do them well. Sadly, in my opinion, only 3 levels have actually managed to pull off this genre of horror well, but sure enough, they're 3 of my favorite levels of all time. The first is Timor, which is an absolutely insane amount with just over 50,000 objects. It was actually in my plans for my first 25 or so extremes before I realized it would simply be too difficult for me to follow through with. Then there's Kid Smoke, which I honestly couldn't tell you why I haven't beaten yet. I got 62 as a fluke from 12 a very long time ago and just never tried it again for some reason. I know I dropped a lot of levels, but Kid Smoke seems like the kind of level I'd pick up and never not finish. I do love both of these levels, but none of them so much as hold a candle to The Sun Vanished. So let's go forward and finally review the level that, when not using my convoluted rating system, might be my favorite level in the entire game. I'm going to go over the gameplay and song factors pretty quickly because the thing that really makes this level pop for me is the decoration. Now, I get it. Slow levels aren't exactly the most popular thing in the Geometry Dash community. There's a reason why levels like Hatred are amongst the most, well, hated extremes of all time. But for this level, it being so slow for a majority of the runtime actually does wonders for it. The gameplay of this level is rather easy throughout, and the only thing that actually brings it up to a hard demon difficulty is the fact that it's about 3 minutes long. But that worked out beautifully for someone like me, who'd beaten a bunch of extremes to that point, because the base gameplay is easy enough that I can not stress as much about that, and focus much more on appreciating everything that the level has to offer in its theming. But I'll get to that in just a minute. Now, maybe this level could have done without so many jump indicators, maybe. But it really didn't affect the level at all for me. I haven't even mentioned the song for this level yet, but I think Wavy could not have chosen anything that would fit better with the level. The song gives off the absolutely perfect vibe that the level is looking for. It's a perfect mix between what sounds like synthesizers and, well, I don't know if grunge is the correct word for it, but it's the only word I could think of that makes sense. In particular, there's one section of the song near the end of the level that sounds like a guitar solo straight out of a 70s rock band concert, and it just fits so well with the energy of the level. Now that I've gotten those 2 factors out of the way, it's time to talk about the decoration, and oh my god. First of all, the level's backgrounds work absolutely perfectly. There's a section with a bunch of houses and other neighborhood items in the background, the ruins of a destroyed city that's been overrun with these weird creatures, a forest background, and the level ends with this weird apocalyptic background, which is just so hot. I know that's a pretty weird way to describe a background in a Geometry Dash level, but it fits! The decoration itself, despite mostly being solid black blocks, fits absolutely perfectly to create a vibe that's pretty much unmatched by anything else. I think the block design being somewhat simple was a deliberate choice by DarkCacti, so more focus could be put on the backgrounds and the effects, which paid off very, very well. Speaking of the effects, these are super cool. One I want to draw attention to specifically is the one at about 30% of the way through the level. It's a laser that sweeps across the screen, and if we slow down the game, it's literally just 2 strips of blocks, one orange and one red, but at full speed, it looks exactly like a laser that's sweeping the screen, which is just so cool. The animations in this level especially are just incredible, especially the one at the end. The way your cube is just split apart just gives me goosebumps for some reason. Oh yeah, I haven't even mentioned this thing yet. This creature is named Gene, and he follows you throughout the level from about 50% on. Now, this would already be impressive enough if DarkCacti used move triggers to animate Gene, because actually using those to make a convincing animation is insane enough. That being said, this is all toggle triggers. I know it's a really small detail in the level, but this impresses me to no end. Animating anything in the editor is already hard enough, especially before 2.2 added keyframing, but to make what's effectively a frame-by-frame animation, how is that even possible? And keep in mind, this level has barely 58,000 objects. Dora Dura has more than that. Gene is honestly one of the coolest things that I've ever seen created in this game, and he really elevates this level to being as special as it is in my eyes, considering it's already incredible enough. I also cannot help but appreciate how he appears in the end screen, appearing to power down after finally catching his prey, only to glance up and stare directly at the player as the level ends. That is just, oh my god, it blows my mind. I think anything more I could say has already been said in the video itself. The Sun Vanished is a masterpiece and a work of storytelling perfection, and it's an absolute honor to be able to talk about it in a video. Great job, DarkCacti and Wavy. You've created one of the absolute greatest levels this game has ever seen. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I want to do these mini reviews somewhat frequently, maybe like a couple times a season, maybe. And yeah, I got nothing else, so if you like the video, I guess, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye! Oh, and one more thing. You see, this level is a hard demon. That makes it much different from most of the other levels I want to review for this series, which are mostly extreme demons that are way too hard for me. Because I won't get this opportunity very often with the series, I actually went through and took the time to beat this one. This is pretty old footage. I beat this just a few days before Sunset Sandstorm, but I recorded it specifically so I could use it for this video. It might seem like I'm getting mad at the level, but nah, I was just playing abysmally that day and was getting frustrated at myself. I never once hated this level, and I never once got mad at it. With that said, here's my completion of The Sun Vanished. Stars. Woo!